I pulled into the driveway at 6:15 on a Wednesday evening. My shoulders ached from moving inventory all day, and my hands still smelled like cardboard and packing tape. All I wanted was a hot shower and maybe something decent for dinner. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open and stopped. Fast food wrappers covered the coffee table. Empty soda cans lined the TV stand. A pizza box hung halfway off the couch armrest. The smell hit me next. Old grease mixed with teenage boy and unwashed laundry. From the living room came the sound of gunfire and shouting. Video game gunfire, specifically. My 19-year-old stepson sat in my recliner, controller in hand, headset on, yelling at someone named XX Sniper Kid 420XX about camping and kill-death ratios. 3 of his friends sprawled across the furniture. None of them looked up when I walked in. I set my keys on the kitchen counter and surveyed the damage. Dishes piled in the sink. Crumbs scattered across the counter. The trash can overflowed. "Hey," I said, loud enough to be heard over the game. Nothing. I walked into the living room and stood directly in his line of sight. He tilted his head to see around me. "Can you move?" "I'm in a match." I reached down and picked up 3 empty fast food bags from beside the recliner. "You planning to clean this up?" He barely glanced at the mess. "Later." "Later when?" I said later, okay? He leaned left, trying to see the TV around me. "Dude, I'm getting shot." One of his friends snickered. I put the bags on the coffee table, carefully, deliberately. "You've been home all day? Your mother told me you were going to look for jobs." I did look. "Where?" "Online." "For how long?" He yanked off his headset, finally looking at me. "Why are you interrogating me?" "Because you're 19 years old, you don't have a job, you're not in school, and you're living in my house for free while turning it into a dump." His jaw tightened. "It's my mom's house too. Your mom works. Your mom contributes. What do you do?" One of his friends whispered something. Another one laughed. The kid stood up, controller still in hand. He had 3 inches on me, something he seemed to remember at convenient moments. "You know what? You're not even my actual father. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do." I nodded slowly. "You're correct. I'm not your father. But I am the guy paying the mortgage on the house you're trashing. I'm the guy whose food you're eating. I'm the guy whose electricity is running that TV and that game console. So what? You want me to thank you? I want you to show some basic respect, starting with picking up your garbage." He laughed. Not a genuine laugh, the kind designed to dismiss someone. "Or what?" Before I could respond, the front door opened. My wife walked in, still in her scrubs from the dental office. She took one look at the scene. Me standing, her son standing, his friends watching like it was theater, and her expression shifted. "What's going on?" Her son immediately changed his tone. "He's on my case again. I'm just trying to relax, and he comes in here, starting drama." She looked at me, not at the mess, not at her adult son surrounded by trash. At me. "Is this necessary right now?" I gestured at the living room. "Look around." She glanced briefly at the coffee table. "It's just some wrappers. Boys are messy. He's not a boy. He's 19. Don't start with the age thing again." She set her purse down, already moving to defense mode. "He's looking for work. These things take time. He's been looking for 6 months. The job market is tough." Her son crossed his arms, smirking now. He knew how this would go. I turned to him directly. "Pick up the trash. Now. Make me." My wife's voice cut through immediately. "Okay, that's enough. Both of you. I'm just asking him to clean up after himself." She stepped between us. "You don't get to come in here and start ordering him around. He's my son, and this is my house." "Our house," she corrected. "Ours. Which means you don't get to make him feel unwelcome." "Unwelcome? He's been here for 3 years. I've never made him feel unwelcome. I've fed him, housed him, and asked for exactly nothing in return. Now I'm asking for basic cleanliness." Her jaw set. That expression I'd seen before, the one that meant she'd made up her mind. "Apologize to him." The room went quiet. Even the video game paused. "Excuse me. You heard me. Apologize to my son. Right now." I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was serious. For what exactly? For coming in here and attacking him. For making him feel like garbage in his own home. For treating him like he's some kind of burden. Her son stood there with this subtle smile. Comfortable. Protected. Untouchable. I could feel something settling into place. A clarity I hadn't expected. "Apologize," she repeated, louder this time. "Or we're getting a divorce." She smiled when she said it. Not a happy smile, a confident one. The smile of someone holding all the cards, someone who believed I'd fold immediately. I stood up straight and looked directly into her eyes. Pack his things. Her smile vanished. What? I walked past her, picked up my keys from the counter, and headed for the door. Wait, where are you going? I didn't answer. I opened the door, stepped outside, and closed it quietly behind me. My phone started ringing before I reached the end of the driveway. I didn't pick up. My brother Neil opened the door wearing gym shorts and a confused expression. It's past 7 on a Wednesday. What's going on? Can I crash here for a few days? He stepped aside without another word. That's the thing about Neil. He asked questions later. I dropped my bag on his couch and sat down. My phone buzzed for the 17th time since I'd left the house. I glanced at the screen. Her name appeared again, and I pressed the power button until it went dark. Neil came back from the kitchen with 2 bottles of beer and handed me one. He sat in the chair across from me and waited. She told me to apologize to her son or get a divorce. He took a slow drink. What did he do? Turn the house into a landfill. Talk back when I asked him to clean up. The usual. But this time she made it an ultimatum. So you left. So I left. Neil nodded, processing. How long you planning to stay? However long it takes. For what? For her to understand I'm not bluffing. The next morning, I woke up on Neil's couch at 5:30 out of habit. I showered, dressed, and went to work like nothing had changed. Moved boxes, stocked shelves, signed delivery forms. Normal day, except my phone stayed off. When I got back to Neil's place that evening, I finally turned it on. 43 missed calls, 27 text messages. I scrolled through them without opening any. The first batch, sent Wednesday night. This is childish. You can't just leave. We need to talk about this like adults. Thursday morning. Where are you? Are you seriously not coming home? Your behavior is unacceptable. Thursday afternoon. I'm worried about you. Can you at least tell me you're okay? Thursday night. Please call me. Friday brought a shift. I think we both overreacted. Maybe we should sit down and discuss this calmly. I'm sure we can work through this. Her son sent messages too. 2 on Wednesday. Dramatic much? And mom's freaking out. Nothing Thursday. Friday morning. Hey, can you call my mom? She's really upset. I deleted nothing. I responded to nothing. Friday after work, I stopped at a law office downtown. The receptionist looked about 60 and had a nameplate that read Cassidy. She took my name and told me Mr. Glover would see me in 15 minutes. The attorney was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with tired eyes and a firm handshake. I laid out the situation in under 10 minutes. He listened, took notes, and asked 3 questions. Do you own the house jointly? Yes. Both names on the deed. I put down the entire down payment, but we bought it 2 years after we got married. Does she work? Part-time. Dental office. Maybe 25 hours a week. What do you want to happen here? I leaned back in the chair. I want her to understand she doesn't get to choose her son over basic respect. I want him to understand he's not entitled to live in my house for free while treating it like a dumpster. And I want to know what my options are if she doesn't get it. Mr. Glover tapped his pen against the notepad. Options range from counseling to legal separation to divorce. Depends on how far you're willing to go. Right now, I'm willing to stay at my brother's house until she figures out I'm serious. That's step 1. But you should know, if this goes legal, the house situation gets complicated. Joint ownership means she has equal claim. The stepson has no legal obligation to leave unless she agrees to it. What if I stop paying the mortgage? He raised an eyebrow. I wouldn't recommend that. Tanks your credit and hers. Bank doesn't care about your marital problems. I nodded. So my leverage is just me not being there. Your leverage is that she's clearly panicking based on those messages. People don't send 43 calls when they're comfortable. Use that time. Let her sit with the consequences of what she said. I left the office with a business card and a clearer picture. I wasn't filing anything yet, but I wanted her to know I could. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with a new message. Not from her, from her son. Dude, seriously, just come home. She's barely eating and keeps crying. I told her I'd clean up. Just come back. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I opened my banking app. Joint checking account. I scrolled through the last 90 days of transactions. DoorDash, Uber Eats, Amazon, GameStop, DoorDash again, Best Buy, Foot Locker, Venmo payment to her son, $200. Another one, $150. Another, $300. I added them up. Then I went back further. 6 months of transactions. When I finished calculating, I sat there in Neil's kitchen with my coffee and stared at the number. $4,200. In 3 months. On her son. I took a screenshot of every transaction. Then I finished my coffee and finally opened my messages. I typed one sentence. I'll be by the house tomorrow at noon to pick up some clothes. Make sure you're both there. I hit send and set the phone down. Neil walked into the kitchen, saw my expression, and poured himself coffee without saying anything. You good? He finally asked. I'm about to be. I pulled up to the house at exactly noon on Sunday. Her car sat in the driveway. The lawn needed mowing, something I usually handled on weekends. She opened the door before I could knock. Her eyes were red, makeup smudged. She'd been crying recently. Her son stood behind her in the hallway, arms crossed, trying to look tough, but failing. Can we talk? She asked. That's why I'm here. She stepped aside and I walked past her into the living room. The mess was gone. The coffee table gleamed. Vacuum lines crossed the carpet. Someone had been busy. I didn't sit down. I stood near the fireplace and pulled out my phone. I've been doing some thinking, I started. Productive thinking. The kind you do when you're not being yelled at or given ultimatums. She moved closer, hands clasped in front of her. I'm sorry about that. I was stressed and I overreacted. I found something interesting. I opened my banking app and turned the screen toward her. These are our joint account transactions from the last 3 months. Her face went pale. DoorDash, January 14th. $32. January 16th. $28. January 18th. $41. I scrolled. Venmo payment to your son. $200. Note says for clothes. Amazon order. $163. Shipped to this address. GameStop purchase. $349. Her son shifted his weight. Mom said I could. I'm not talking to you yet. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. February. More DoorDash. More Venmo. More Amazon. Foot Locker. Best Buy. March continues the pattern. I looked at my wife. Want to guess the total? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I didn't keep track of every. For $1,200. I let that number hang in the air. In 90 days. On your son. That's not possible. I turned the phone toward her again and scrolled slowly through the highlighted transactions. Every single one. Restaurants. Games. Clothes. Direct cash transfers. All from our joint account. The account my paychecks go into. Her son finally spoke up. She said it was okay. I didn't know it was a big deal. I turned to him. When's the last time you bought groceries? Paid a utility bill? Put gas in a car you don't own? When's the last time you contributed anything to this house besides dirty dishes? I've been looking for work. Stop. I held up one hand. Just stop. I checked your laptop history while you were out with your friends last week. You know what jobs you applied for in the last month? 0. You know what you did spend 6 hours a day on? Gaming forums and streaming videos. His face flushed. You went through my computer? It's connected to the Wi-Fi I pay for. My wife stepped between us. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Yes, maybe I spent more than I should have. But he's my son. He needed things. Needed. I pulled up another transaction. $350 sneakers. He needed those. They were on sale. From $500. That's not a need. That's not even a want. That's enabling. She crossed her arms. So what? You want me to just let him go without? I want you to let him be an adult. He's 19, not 9. He's still my child. He's still a man who should be working, contributing, or at minimum showing some appreciation for the roof over his head. Her jaw tightened. You don't understand what it's like to be a parent. You're right. I don't. But I understand what it's like to work 45 hours a week and come home to a house that looks like a tornado hit it. I understand what it's like to ask for basic respect and get threatened with divorce instead. She flinched at that. I continued. I also understand what it's like to watch someone enable their kid right into permanent failure. You're not helping him. You're crippling him. Don't you dare. When I was 19, I was working construction and taking night classes. Your son can't even fill out a job application without getting distracted by YouTube. Her son finally showed some fire. You're not better than me just because you had a rough childhood. I'm better than you because I show up. I work. I contribute. I don't demand apologies when someone asks me to pick up trash. The room went silent. My wife's voice came out small. So what do you want? You want him gone. You want me to choose between you and my son. I want you to choose reality. I put my phone away, and I want you to understand something very clearly. That ultimatum you gave me, it works both ways. I walked toward the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, and started filling it with clothes. She followed me. Where are you going? Back to Neil's. For how long? Until you decide whether you're married to me or to your son. That's not fair. I zipped the bag and turned to face her. You demanded I apologize for asking him to clean up. You threatened our marriage over empty food wrappers. You spent $4,000 of our money on a teenager who won't even look for a job. Tell me which part of that is fair. She had tears in her eyes now. I can't just kick him out. He's my son. I'm not asking you to kick him out. I'm asking you to be his mother, not his ATM. There's a difference. I walked past her with the bag. Her son stood in the hallway, looking smaller now. You've got a decision to make too, I told him. Grow up or get comfortable being 30 years old in your mom's basement. Your call. I left them standing there and drove back to Neil's place. My phone stayed quiet for the rest of the day. Tuesday evening, my phone rang. Not a text, an actual call. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, please come home. Her voice sounded tired, defeated. We need to talk. Actually talk. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Please, just come over for dinner. I'll cook. We can sit down like adults and figure this out. I checked the time. 6:30. I'll be there at 7. Neil looked up from his laptop when I grabbed my keys. Want backup? I'm good. You sure? Family confrontations get messy. It's already messy. Might as well finish it. When I arrived, the house smelled like garlic and tomato sauce. She'd made spaghetti, my favorite, though I wasn't sure if that was strategic or coincidental. Her son sat at the kitchen table, phone face down in front of him. He looked up when I walked in, but didn't say anything. She gestured toward the table. Sit, please. I sat across from her son. She brought over 3 plates and served us in silence. For a few minutes, we just ate. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Finally, she set down her fork. I talked to my sister and my mom, and I've been thinking about what you said. I waited. You're right. About the money. About him needing to do more. I didn't see it happening because I didn't want to see it. Her son stared at his plate. She continued. But I can't have you just leaving every time we have a problem. That's not how marriage works either. You're right, I said. But there's a difference between leaving because we disagree about what color to paint the bathroom and leaving because my wife threatened divorce over asking her son to pick up garbage. She winced but nodded. I know. I shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have meant it. I didn't. I was defending him. Like I always do. I know. I set down my own fork. Which is why we're going to do things differently now. Her son finally looked up. Differently how? I turned to him directly. You've got 2 weeks to find a job. I don't care if it's fast food, retail, warehouse work, whatever. Any job that pays. Once you're employed, you pay $300 a month to live here. You also do your share of housework, dishes, laundry, keeping your space clean. $300? He blinked. That's cheap. You know what a 1-bedroom goes for in this city. Try 900. You're getting a deal. But if I'm working full-time, how am I supposed to afford that and save money? Welcome to adulthood. Figure it out like everyone else. My wife started to speak, but I held up a hand. I'm not done. If 2 weeks pass and you don't have a job, you move out. Not negotiable. Your mom can help you find a place, co-sign a lease, whatever. But you're not staying here unemployed indefinitely. Her son's face went red. This is messed up. You're basically kicking me out. I'm giving you 2 weeks and a very clear path to stay. That's more than most 19-year-olds get. He looked at his mother. Mom. She didn't meet his eyes. He's right. You need to do this. I could see the betrayal flash across his face. But I didn't care about his feelings right now. I cared about reality. I turned to my wife. As for us, we're going to see a financial counselor. Not a marriage counselor, a financial one. Someone who can look at our spending and put us on a budget that both of us follow. A budget. You spent over $4,000 in 3 months without discussing any of it with me. That's not happening again. Every purchase over $50 gets talked about first. Both of us. Equal rules. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Okay. And if you try to go around that, if I find out you're using cash to hide purchases or opening credit cards I don't know about, I'm done. No conversation. No second chance. I'm filing papers, and we split everything down the middle. The words landed hard. She understood I meant them. I'm not trying to control you, I added. I'm trying to be partners. Actual partners who respect each other enough to communicate before making decisions that affect both of us. She nodded slowly. I can do that. I turned back to her son. Clock starts tomorrow. 2 weeks. Get a job or get out. He stood up abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. This is such crap. He stormed off toward his room. My wife and I sat there in the kitchen with half-eaten spaghetti between us. Is this really how it has to be? She asked quietly. Yes, because the alternative is me walking out that door and not coming back. And I'll do it. I already proved I can spend 3 days away without blinking. I can spend 3 years just as easily. She looked down at her hands. I don't want that. Then we do it my way. Not because I'm trying to be controlling, but because your way resulted in a 19-year-old with no job skills, no motivation, and no respect for the people housing him. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. When do you want to meet with the financial counselor? She asked. I'll set up an appointment this week. And are you coming home? Or going back to Neil's? I stood up and took my plate to the sink. I'm staying at Neil's until your son has a job. Once he's employed and paying rent, I'll come back. That could take 2 weeks. Or it could take 3 days if he gets serious. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. She followed me. Thank you, she said softly, for not just giving up on us. I stopped at the door and looked at her. I didn't give up, but I'm not a backup plan either. Remember that. I left her standing there and drove back to Neil's. My phone buzzed 10 minutes later. A text from her son. I hate you. I deleted it and kept driving. The first week crawled by. Wednesday, I got a text from my wife. He's been on his laptop all morning. Says he's applying to places. I didn't respond. Thursday evening, another text. He has an interview tomorrow at a fast food place. Fingers crossed. Friday at lunch, my phone buzzed. He didn't get it. They said he didn't have enough customer service experience. That night, I stopped by the house after work. Her son's door was closed. I could hear music playing inside, loud enough to rattle the walls. My wife sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea. He's upset about the interview. He'll get over it. Maybe we should extend the deadline. 2 weeks isn't a lot of time. 2 weeks is plenty. I poured myself water from the tap. He's had 19 years to prepare for the bare minimum of adult responsibility. He'll survive. Sunday evening, I pulled up to the house and found her son's belongings in boxes in the garage. Not all of them, just enough to make a point. His gaming console, his expensive sneakers, some clothes. I walked inside. My wife sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself. What's this about? I gestured toward the garage. You said 2 weeks. That's this Friday. I wanted him to see I'm serious. Her son came down the stairs. He saw me and stopped. Your mom's making a statement, I said. How's the job search going? I've applied to like 15 places. And nothing yet. Then apply to 15 more. He clenched his jaw. It's not that simple. It absolutely is. You fill out applications until someone says yes. That's how jobs work. Easy for you to say. Yeah, it is. Because I've done it. Tuesday, my phone rang at 6 in the evening. Her son's number. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. What? I got a job. His voice sounded flat. Defeated. Auto parts store. Stock and counter work. $11 an hour. Good. When do you start? Tomorrow. For to close. Congratulations. Silence on the other end. Then, don't act like you care. I care that you're finally taking responsibility. What I don't care about is whether you like me. He hung up. I texted my wife. He told me. That's progress. She responded immediately. Thank you for pushing him. I couldn't have done this alone. Thursday evening, I met my wife at a small office downtown. The financial counselor's name was Richard Hicks, and he looked like someone who'd spent 40 years dealing with people's money problems. Graying hair, reading glasses on a chain, firm handshake. He sat us down at a table with printouts of our bank statements. Let's start simple, he said. What's your combined monthly income? My wife and I exchanged glances. I answered, after taxes, about $4,800. Mortgage, $1,300. Utilities, $250 average. He went through the list. Insurance, car payment, groceries, gas. When he finished, he circled a number at the bottom. You should have about $1,200 in discretionary spending per month. That's money for entertainment, eating out, hobbies, savings, everything else. He tapped another section of the printout. Last month, you spent $2,100 in that category. My wife shifted in her chair. The month before that, 1900. The month before that, 2200. He looked at her. Most of these charges trace back to one source. Can you tell me what that is? She didn't answer. Your son, he said. Not unkindly. Just factual. Direct transfers. Food delivery to your address. Gaming purchases. Clothing stores. Subscription services under his email. He needed things, she said quietly. Ma'am, I'm not here to judge. But I am here to tell you that at this rate, you'll have zero savings in 2 years. If an emergency happens, medical issue, car breaks down, job loss, you'll have nothing to fall back on. She looked at her hands. Richard continued, your husband's proposal is fair. $300 a month from your son covers about 15% of the mortgage. More importantly, it teaches him that housing costs money. Food costs money. Electricity costs money. He turned to me. The $50 rule is smart. Keeps both of you accountable. But I'd recommend a joint savings account that you both contribute to, automatic transfer every payday. Treat it like a bill. We spent another 30 minutes going through a budget, line by line. By the end, my wife looked exhausted. In the car afterward, she was quiet. You okay? I asked. I didn't think it was that bad. It was worse. I just wanted him to have things I didn't have growing up. I get that, but you can't give him a future by bankrupting yours. She nodded slowly. Friday evening, her son came home from his second day of work. I was there picking up more clothes when he walked in wearing a navy blue polo with the auto parts store logo. He looked tired. His hands had grease under the fingernails. How was it? My wife asked. Fine. He dropped his keys on the counter and headed for the fridge. Just fine, she pressed. It's work, Mom. It's not supposed to be fun. I grabbed my duffel bag. That's the most mature thing I've heard you say. He glanced at me, surprised. Then he nodded once, barely, and cracked open a soda. Progress. Small, grudging progress. But progress. I texted Neil on the drive back. Might be home soon. He responded, about time. Your snoring is terrible. I smiled despite myself. Maybe this could actually work. 3 months later, the house felt different. Not perfect. Not some fairy tale ending where everything magically fixed itself, but different in ways that mattered. Her son, I still couldn't bring myself to call him my stepson, worked 5 days a week at the auto parts store. He'd been promoted to assistant manager after 6 weeks. Turned out he was good with customers when he actually tried. He mentioned wanting to take a technical certification course in automotive repair. First time I'd heard him talk about a future that didn't involve streaming or gaming. Last week, he did something unexpected. He knocked on my office door, the spare bedroom I converted, and stood there awkwardly. I need to say something, he said. I was acting like an entitled jerk. You were right to call me out. So thanks. I guess. It wasn't poetry, but it was authentic. You're welcome, I told him. And for what it's worth, you're doing good. Keep it up. He nodded and left. We weren't friends. Probably never would be. But we had something better, mutual respect. My wife changed too, though it took longer. The first month, I caught her trying to slip him gas money without telling me. I didn't argue. I just went back to Neil's for 2 nights. When I came back, she apologized. Said she understood now. The financial counselor appointments helped. Seeing the numbers in black and white, hearing Richard explain how close we'd come to serious debt, it shook her. She got a second part-time job at a veterinary clinic. Something she'd always wanted to do, but never had time for. Turned out she had plenty of time once she stopped managing her son's entire existence. We still had arguments. Last month, she wanted to buy him a used car as a reward for doing well at work. I reminded her that rewards you don't earn yourself mean nothing. He bought his own car 2 weeks ago, a 15-year-old sedan with high mileage. He was proud of it. That's what mattered. Tonight, we sat at the kitchen table after dinner. Her son was out with coworkers. The house was quiet. I almost lost you, she said. Over trash on the floor. Wasn't about the trash. I know. She reached across the table and took my hand. It was about respect. About being partners. Yeah. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that. I squeezed her hand. You got there eventually. She smiled, but it was sad around the edges. Do you think he'll forgive me? For enabling him for so long. He doesn't need to forgive you. He needs to understand you did your best with what you knew. Now you know better. We both do. I stood and kissed the top of her head. I'm going to bed. Coming. In a minute. I headed upstairs, passing the clean living room, the organized kitchen, The home that finally felt like ours instead of a battlefield. My phone buzzed. Text from Neil. Still coming to the game Sunday? I typed back. Yeah, bringing her too if that's cool. Always. I set the phone down and looked around the bedroom. My clothes hung in the closet next to hers. My books stacked on the nightstand. I was home. Actually home. Not because everything was perfect, but because we'd drawn a line, enforced it, and built something better on the other side. That ultimatum she'd given me 3 months ago, apologize or divorce, turned out to be the best thing that could have happened. Because I didn't apologize. I didn't divorce her either. I did something better. I taught everyone in this house what respect looks like. And that made all the difference.